They forced me out. Early retirement feels like getting fired. Another whole life sliced off. But I still had my wife. And I couldn't even tell her. For 10 years, I stayed silent. For so long, no one knew my story. And now everyone wants to know. One mention in a book, in Colonel Voltenstev's book, in 1998. 15 years after that night, everyone wants to know. Lousy journalists, lousy people, lousies. I will tell the story, but not about my parents. I won't talk about my mother or father. My job, the Soviet Army. Soldiers only know how to obey orders. They don't know how to think. I was civilian educated. The only civilian educated man in my unit. My colleagues were all professional soldiers, taught to give and obey orders. Disgusting. Disgusting. My job, if the United States launched a nuclear missile, I would call my superior and then launch our nuclear missile. My job was to annihilate the United States of America, but only if they try to annihilate us first. Then what? Millions of people dead. That was my job. I didn't even want to do it. No, my parents pushed me so they wouldn't have to take care of me. Cut me out. Get out, they said. This isn't about them. That night, September 25th, 1983. I wasn't even supposed to work that night. Someone got sick. Lucky it was me. Lucky it was me. It was shortly after midnight, September 26th, and bold red letters came up. Launch. I remember staring at them for a few seconds. Protocol was that decisions had to be made based on computer readouts, not support service. And here, the computer was telling me a missile had been launched. All I had to do was reach for the phone for a direct line to our top commanders. But I couldn't move. It was like sitting on a hot frying pan. If the United States were to strike, wouldn't they launch more than just one missile? A minute later, the siren went off again. The second missile had been launched. Then the third, then the fourth, then the fifth. The computer changed from launch to missile strike. In the Soviet Army, there were no rules for how long we were allowed to wait before reporting a strike, especially in that time. Tensions between us and the United States were very high. At the slightest provocation, we would strike. But that's not what they're saying now. Of course not. I just sat there thinking. The strike didn't make sense. That's all I could think. It doesn't make sense. And I knew perfectly well, if I were to call my superior and say the United States had launched a missile, we would launch our missiles. And no one would be able to correct my mistake. Millions would die. That would be it. My mistake would kill people. A lot of them. So, I grabbed the telephone, called my superior, and reported the alarm was false. A system malfunction. And I waited. The odds were 50-50. And if I were wrong, the first nuclear explosion would have happened on Soviet soil in minutes. 23 minutes later, I realized nothing had happened. And if there had been a real strike, I would have known by then. It was such a relief. A few days later, I received an official reprimand for what happened. I was punished. Not for what I did, but I had made some mistakes in the logbook. Because I had a telephone in one hand and the intercom in the other, and I do not have a third hand. I was given a less stressful position, and the army slowly forced me out. And I never told anyone, not even my wife. When I came home from work that morning, she asked me what I did. I said, nothing. I did nothing. I think it's shameful for the Soviet army, for our system to fail in that way. A satellite picked up the sun's reflection on the top of the clouds and interpreted that as a missile strike. They say I saved millions. They say I saved the United States and the Soviet Union from all-out nuclear war. They say I saved the world. I say I was just doing my job. I've been asked if I think there is another chance for an accidental missile strike because of how much better our computers are now. I wish I could say no. But when we deal with space, when we play God, who knows what will be the next surprise?